Alright, it has been quite a while since I last played Stormworks, but I'm back and we're going to be checking out one of the most detailed builds I have ever seen, or at least one of the most detailed Titanic builds I have ever seen. This Titanic has got an insane amount of interiors and a full sinking. It's incredible. So we're going to check it out, and then we're going to play through the sinking and see how it goes. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, first things first, we're going to get this ship started up, and it is fairly simple. You just got to go to the back of the wheelhouse here and start everything there. Then go forward, power up all of the throttles, or the telegraphs here, and we should be all set to go. Let's go ahead and get the central turbine and then the starboard engine. There we go. So with that, let's switch things over to night, turn on the lights, and then sink the ship. Now to turn on the lights, it's fairly simple. You just got to go to the back of the wheelhouse once again, across from where the engine switches are, and there it is. And there we are. The ship is illuminated from bow to stern, and the first thing I'm going to do before sinking the ship is I'm going to go down to the boiler room, because that will be the first place to go, and we might as well get a look before it is underwater. Now, to access the boiler room, you simply got to go down the grand staircase all the way to the bottom on E deck, and then go down Scotland Road, and here you have it. All right, let's go ahead and take this ladder down here, and here we are in the boiler room, one of the many boiler rooms on board the Titanic, and this is what generated the steam to power the engines, which of course makes the ship go forward. Another cool thing, or well, what I think is a cool thing, is that you can actually go up the catwalks to the top of the boilers and check it out from here. So you can see the sort of ventilation, or the uptakes I should say, which go up over the boiler and then out to the funnel, which is way up there. You can kind of see a little bit of the moonlight out there. Of course, Titanic was sailing on a moonless night, but we can't really get that in Stormworks, so we're gonna have to make do. Now, speaking of engine rooms and boiler rooms, here we have the engine room on the Titanic. As you can see, it is a very large space. Of course, it needs to be to encapsulate these massive engines, and they don't actually operate, but it is still very cool to see. Alright, so now that we've seen those engineering spaces, it's time to go ahead and begin the sink simulation. So, here we go. We're going to turn the key, and there it is. We're going to also stop the engines, just for the maximum realism possible. But here we are back at the boiler room entrance, and you can see, well, there's some weird effects going on, which is probably just a Stormworks bug, but looking down, we can actually see there's water rapidly flooding the boiler room. Now, of course, on the real ship, that wasn't the only room flooding. There were several other compartments doing the same thing, and that is what took the ship down. It just would flood over one into the next and then repeat that process. But, yeah, oh wow. We're already starting to see some water on F deck now. Anyways, we'll try to make do. Here is the Turkish bath. This is a very cool room and remarkably well preserved on the real ship. Going forward of there, we are quite literally swimming, and it'll be quite fitting because here we are in the swimming pool, which is empty right now. Well, for now it's empty, but you can see this is where the swimming pool would be, and it's already starting to, well, go underwater. Using no clip, we can see this kind of terrifying view as the portals slowly slip underwater. And even early in the sinking, things are starting to happen. But going up the stairs, away from the water, we can actually go out and make our way onto the well deck. And there we have it. The Titanic is clearly starting to lean forward as it takes on more and more water. It's completely uncontrollable. We are now at the mercy of the ship sinking. So let's go ahead, lower a lifeboat, and ride the lifeboat all the way down to the water and see if we can paddle away. Alright, so here we have one of the emergency cutter boats. These ones are pretty much already swung out and ready to go, and they would be like that as the ship sails. And we're going to use this one as this is one of the only operational lifeboats on the ship. So let's hop on in. And here we go. We are literally getting lower down the side of the Titanic as it sinks. A very unique experience. Alright, that should be good. Let's go ahead and detach it. There we are. And we'll detach this one as well. And can we paddle this lifeboat? It appears that we cannot. So we'll just have to sit here, but I'm not going to sit here. I'm just going to go ahead and reboard the ship. Ah, the power of no clip. It gives us many, many opportunities that, well, in real life, we just don't have. Back in the grand staircase area, at the very top of the grand staircase, actually, we can look down this well that's created by all of the banisters, and you can see water pooling at the base of the staircase down in E deck and D deck. And I really wonder what was going through the minds of some of the passengers as they were in this room at a certain point and saw water down there. You know, it kind of would probably signal to them that something was seriously wrong. Looking forward, we've also got a very serious situation now. This is kind of where it's becoming obvious to a lot of the people on board the ship. It's going down. And you can see there's water flooding the forecastle deck as well as the well deck. Here I am in the aft grand staircase, and this actually leads out to the Cafe Parisien here, and then another very, very nice space on board the ship, the a la carte restaurant, and this is very, very nice. Unfortunately, it is all going down. Water is now starting to flood this area of the ship, up the staircases and near the boat deck. We're going to release this last boat right now and hope for the best. I'm going to have to quickly cut the ropes, though. What could be interesting, though, is if I board it from down here. There we go. That was somewhat successful. Let's go ahead and cut that rope. And we'll cut this one. There we are. The boat is now free. Although, we can't really go anywhere, but at least we're not sinking. In the dining room, it is really getting bad. Look at this. The water is pretty much flooded to the very back of the room and up to the ceiling in the forward part. And this perspective really shows how far it's gone down in the water. There's only one deck remaining before that water spills over onto the boat deck, the very top of the ship, and it is going to go fairly quick. In the A-deck promenade, which runs from the back of the ship, or at least the back of the superstructure, all the way to the front here, we can see the water is starting to spill in, and that lifeboat we lowered earlier is now level with us, which, you know, before we started sinking, we were very, very high off the ground compared to where we are now. We are literally touching the water here. Now, thankfully, this lifeboat has gotten a couple feet away from the ship, so it'll be fine when it goes down. But here we are, we can look into the grand staircase as it floods, and then forward, we've got the officers' quarters going under the bridge, is completely consumed by water. This is the end here, folks. Here's a side-on view to the sinking. You can see the forward funnel is starting to go under, and the propellers are starting to come out of the water. Or should I say, they're already out of the water. All right, I'm going to try to make my way to the stern here as this thing goes down. We're going to get down the stairs here, make our way up, and get right up to the fantail where this all is going to go down. Oh, and there it goes. The ship is just split in two. The stern is falling back, and there it is. Wow. In the only upright lifeboat here, we can actually get a pretty crazy view of the stern rising into the air as it goes down. And there's the other overturned boat. Kind of gives you an idea of where the bow of the ship was, where the forward funnel was earlier. All right, here we go. I think I should be good. Let's do it. We're jumping. Oh, this may have been a little too high, but we should be fine. There it is. We're in the water, and you can see the Titanic going down there. Let's go ahead and swim to the surface. All right, there goes the rudder of the ship. And the very last bit there with the nameplate is the only thing left above the water, and within a moment here, it is going to slip under. And what's interesting is in that room, behind those portholes back there, or the name plaque, I forget which deck it's on, is the steering room for the rudder. So there's a bunch of mechanical equipment back in there. But there it goes. Ship has gone under. Well, then, there it is. Another Stormworks Titanic gone down. And this one was certainly one of the most detailed Titanics I've ever seen. So if you want to download it yourself, a link will be in the description. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and a comment. And I'll see you all next time, guys. Goodbye.